I'm 76 years old, and in a box under my bed there are 143 letters. I wrote them over 50 years, every single one addressed to the same person, my wife, Sarah. And she's never read a single word. Not because she refused, but because I never gave them to her. I kept them hidden, locked away, silent. And that silence nearly destroyed everything I loved. I'm making this video because time is running out, and I need to tell you about these letters, about what they contain, about why I wrote them but couldn't send them. Because if you're in a relationship right now, if you love someone, you might be writing your own invisible letters, holding back your own truths. And I need you to understand what that costs before it's too late. Not for me, for you. Let me take you back to where this started, 1974. I was 26 years old, married for 3 years. Sarah was 24. We were young, ambitious, completely unprepared for what marriage actually required. I worked in advertising, long hours, constant pressure. Sarah taught elementary school. We'd pass each other like strangers in our own home, both exhausted, both convinced we were doing our best. One Thursday evening in March, I came home early. Unusual for me. I wanted to surprise Sarah, maybe take her out to dinner, something we hadn't done in months. I walked into our apartment and heard her voice from the bedroom. She was on the phone, and I heard her say something that shattered me. She said, "I don't know how much longer I can do this. I feel completely alone." I stood frozen in the hallway. She was talking to her sister, and then she said the words that would haunt me for 50 years. She said, "I married him because I loved him, but I don't think he sees me anymore. I'm just there, like furniture." I didn't confront her. I couldn't. I turned around, walked out, drove aimlessly for 2 hours. And when I came home late, I pretended I'd been stuck at work. But something inside me had broken open. That night, I couldn't sleep. At 3 in the morning, I sat at the kitchen table with a pen and paper, and I wrote her a letter. I told her I'd heard what she said. I told her she was right. I told her I was terrified of being a bad husband, so terrified that I'd become exactly that. I told her I didn't know how to be vulnerable, how to share what I was feeling, how to let her see the confused, scared person I actually was beneath the confident surface. I wrote for an hour, 5 pages, everything I couldn't say out loud. And then I folded it up, put it in an envelope, wrote her name on it, and hid it in my desk drawer. I told myself I'd give it to her the next day. But the next day came, and I couldn't do it. I was too ashamed, too afraid, so I made a different choice. I started trying to be better. I came home earlier. I brought flowers. I planned dates. I did all the visible things a good husband should do. And it worked, sort of. Sarah seemed happier. We seemed happier. The crisis passed, and I convinced myself I'd solved the problem without having to expose myself, without having to hand her that letter, without having to admit how lost I actually was. But the letter stayed in the drawer, and 6 months later, when I felt that distance creeping back between us, when I felt myself retreating into work again, I wrote another one. This time, I told her about the pressure I was feeling at work, about my fear of failure, about how I was bringing that anxiety home and letting it poison our evenings together. I sealed it, hid it with the first one, never sent it. This became my pattern. Whenever I felt something I couldn't say, whenever I was afraid or angry or confused or deeply in love, I wrote it down. I wrote letters to Sarah about my fears, my failures, my dreams, my gratitude, my resentment, my desire, my shame. Everything I was too scared or too proud to say out loud, I put into those letters. And then I hid them away. Over 50 years, 143 letters. Some written in the middle of the night after arguments I didn't know how to resolve. Some written on anniversaries when I wanted to express love deeper than "I love you." Some written in hotel rooms on business trips when I missed her so much it physically hurt. Some written during our children's births, their graduations, their weddings, moments when I felt overwhelmed by emotion I didn't know how to express. Every letter said things I couldn't say out loud. Real things, true things, important things. And Sarah never knew they existed. You might be wondering why I'm telling you this now. 3 months ago, Sarah was diagnosed with early-stage Alzheimer's. The doctors say we have time, but time for what? Time to keep hiding? Time to keep my 143 secrets? Or time to finally tell the truth? Last week, I brought the box out from under the bed. My hands were shaking. Sarah was sitting in our living room reading. I said, "I need to show you something." And I gave her the box. She looked confused. I said, "These are letters I wrote to you over 50 years. I never gave them to you. I was too afraid." She opened the box slowly, saw envelope after envelope, each one with her name, each one sealed, each one dated. Some from the 70s, some from last year. She looked at me with an expression I'll never forget. Confusion, hurt, and something else. Curiosity, maybe, or hope. She said, "Can I read them?" And I said, "Yes. That's why I'm giving them to you now." For the past week, she's been reading them, not all at once, a few each day. And you know what she told me yesterday? She said, "These letters, this is the man I married. This is the person I've been waiting to know for 50 years. That broke me, because she was right. The person in those letters, vulnerable and honest and struggling and loving, that was the real me. The person she lived with for 50 years, the one who came home on time and said the right things and never caused problems, that was a performance, a carefully maintained facade. And I'd robbed her of the truth. I'd robbed us both. Here's what I need you to understand. You might not be writing physical letters, but I guarantee you're writing invisible ones. You're thinking things you're not saying. You're feeling things you're not expressing. You're holding back parts of yourself because you're afraid of judgment or rejection or just uncomfortable with vulnerability. And every unsent thought, every unspoken feeling, every hidden truth, it creates distance. A tiny gap at first, but over time, those gaps become canyons. I see couples today, young and old, and I see the same pattern. The husband who can't tell his wife he's scared about money. The wife who can't tell her husband she's lonely even though he's right there. The partners who love each other but can't seem to bridge that final distance, can't seem to really connect. They're all writing invisible letters. They're all holding back, and they think they're protecting the relationship. They think honesty might hurt, might cause conflict, might reveal something unlovable. But the opposite is true. The silence is what hurts. The distance is what kills love, not the truth. Real intimacy, the kind that actually sustains a marriage through decades, requires radical honesty, not cruelty, not dumping every negative thought on your partner, but honesty about who you really are, what you're really feeling, Where you're really struggling. It requires sending those letters, literal or metaphorical, even when you're terrified of how they'll be received. My biggest regret isn't that I struggled. Everyone struggles. My biggest regret is that I struggled in silence. I had a partner, someone who loved me, someone who wanted to know me, and I kept her at arm's length for 50 years. I gave her the edited version, the acceptable version, the version I thought she wanted. And in doing so, I denied her the chance to love the real me. When Sarah reads these letters, she's meeting someone new, someone she's been married to for 53 years, but never fully knew. And she's told me she wishes she'd known him sooner. She wishes I'd trusted her with the truth. She wishes I'd believed she could handle my fears and failures and still love me. She's right to wish that, because she could have. All along, she could have. But I never gave her the chance. If you're holding something back right now, if there are words you're not saying, feelings you're not expressing, truths you're keeping hidden, I'm begging you, don't wait 50 years. Don't wait until a diagnosis forces your hand. Don't wait until you've accumulated a box full of unsent letters. Send them now. Not literally, maybe, but say the things. Have the conversations. Let yourself be seen. I know it's scary. I know vulnerability feels like weakness. I know exposing your true self feels dangerous. But you know what's actually dangerous? Living your whole life as a stranger to the person you claim to love most. Building a marriage on performance instead of presence. Maintaining distance in the name of protection. Sarah and I are making up for lost time now. She reads my letters, and we talk about them. Really talk. About things we should have discussed decades ago. About fears and dreams and failures and hopes. And it's awkward sometimes. It's painful sometimes. It's hard to confront 50 years of missed connection. But it's also beautiful. It's also real. It's also what we should have had all along. But I'm not going to lie and say it doesn't hurt. It hurts to know what we could have had. It hurts to see her reading letters from 30 years ago about struggles she never knew I was facing, struggles we could have faced together. It hurts to think about all the nights I sat alone writing instead of sitting beside her talking. Don't make my mistake. Don't write invisible letters. Don't keep your truth locked away. The people you love, they deserve to know you, really know you, and you deserve to be loved for who you actually are, not who you pretend to be. I'm 76 years old. Sarah is 74. We don't have another 50 years to try again. But you do. You have time to make a different choice, to build relationships on honesty instead of hiding, to be vulnerable instead of safe, to send your letters instead of storing them. Those 143 letters taught me something. The truth doesn't destroy love. The truth reveals where love actually is. And if your relationship can't handle truth, then what you have isn't love anyway. It's just two people playing roles, hoping the curtain never falls. So here's what I'm asking you to do. Think about your unsent letters. What are you not saying? What are you holding back? What truth are you afraid to speak? And then find the courage to send it. Today, not someday, today. Because I kept mine silent for 50 years and I almost lost everything. Don't wait as long as I did. Send your letters. Say your truth. Let yourself be known. You won't regret the honesty. You'll only regret the silence.